Kris, as you have achieved success, hit your goals, and just generally grown throughout your life, do you find yourself looking around and feeling like everybody does things opposite to what you're doing?
I wouldn't say everybody. I think there's a ton of people that are crushing it out there. They're winning financially. They're having big gains, but we are the minority, right? I mean, if you take a look at what's happened to the middle class, it is over the next decade predicted to shrink another 10%. Half of those people are going to go into the poor class. Half of those are going to go into the wealthy class. And so it's interesting that as the middle class shrinks, it's kind of 50-50 that people either become poorer or they become richer.
So I'm wondering if you can give us some examples of things you see people do that you're just like, don't do that. Like, that's not going to work out.
Poor people, right? And I want to define poor. Like, if you're making less than $250,000 a year, you're poor. Someone would say that you're in the middle class, but middle class is also poor. And there are things that poor people do. It's what the masses do. And so it's kind of like society's accepted game plan. So I've got a top 5 to watch out for that poor people do that rich people don't.
This is going to be good. Hit me with them.
Number 1, poor people go to college. So they treat this like that is the model of higher education. By going to college, it is this $50,000 to $250,000 investment. On average, it's about $50,000 a year. On average, it's also 5 years to get through college. So that is $250,000 to get career training. And I think some people view it as career training, like this is going to set me up for what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But it's more cog training. And so what it means is the majority of people who graduate with a degree never go into a field with that degree. And if they do, they don't last there very long, which means that you spend $250,000 learning a career that you're not going to leverage or use. That's true for the masses. And that big investment is really all about, I don't want to say making someone else rich, but it's not really a complete game plan. That game plan usually only extends as far as pay the bills. And so what we do is we make this huge investment. We think it's the highest form of education. And then what it's going to do is keep 62% of people in this country check to check. And then you definitely have some people that are getting ahead and you've got others that are getting wildly behind. But that model doesn't produce rich people. That's what poor people do.
Wow, I did not expect college to be the first thing on your list. I expected things like Starbucks.
Ask me if I've told my 4 children to go to college.
Yeah, I'm curious what those conversations look like.
I've never once told my children to go to college. What I've told them is that college is a career stepping stone. If there's a career that you're in love with, that you want to learn about, if you want to do it, get your good grades, go to college. By the way, Dad is here first on the scene to tell you, this won't financially get you ahead. This won't make you rich. This won't make you wealthy. This definitely won't give you the lifestyle that you were raised with or that you've observed me and your mom have. What it is going to do is help you pay bills. And so what it is it is a step. For most of the world I teach them, this is their final step.
Right.
For you, this is a first step in the game of money. Because Dad's going to teach you entrepreneurship. It's going to teach you about franchises, owning real estate, owning businesses. This is what wealthy people do. So if you want to do what poor people do as a stepping stone to just paying bills, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so that's number 1. Hit me with number 2.
Poor people use 401ks and IRAs as wealth accumulation vehicles. And so when they're young, they get really excited about free money. They're like, 401k, like my boss has a 401k matching plan up to X%. And so like I put in $8,000 and then they put in $8,000 and that's like $16,000 and they get really excited because to them it's free money and there's no tax on it. It just feels like they're growing. And here's why it feels good. They're making $80,000 a year. And so when you think of what 8,000 is to 80,000, that's 10%. That's a lot of money. And if the government is going to match that with another 8,000, think about that for a minute. Like to someone that makes $80,000 a year, that's a ton of money. But here's the problem with that. Your 401k on the 30-year average is going to produce 5%. And 5% does not compound meaningfully. Over 20 years, it triples. So if you think about that typical contribution, average 401k and IRA collective combined at age 65 for this generation, $255,000. So by the way, they're not putting $8,000 away. They're putting maybe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 away. And then it's sitting in the market, growing the way that the market does. And they have a few years that look really great and they feel really great. They're patting themselves on the back. And then we have that bear market. And then all of a sudden you lose your winnings and then it stifles for a few years. You have to play the average. because you're not doing it to put your money in and get out like a day trader this month or in 6 months or
you're in the
18 months.
long
You're
haul.
playing the long haul. The long haul is a 5% average, which means you can go to a future value calculator online. It's free. It's called Google. And Google will tell you at the rate that you're saving money and with your match, what that will turn into. I had this couple on stage at my event a few months ago, and they made about $80,000 a year. And I looked at their contributions, and they were convinced that they were on track to have like $1.7 million at retirement. And on stage, I felt awful, but I laughed in front of them. I said, "You're telling me that you think you're going to have 1.7 million. There's no place on God's green earth where that reality will ever exist for you. I'm so glad that I'm here to pop that bubble and then just let reality set in."
Did they think that just because they'd been led to think
That's
that?
what their financial planners told them. That's what Dave Ramsey told them. So they were playing that traditional financial planners game. And most financial planners plan for their clients to fail because they make money managing their money without ever having the cojones to say, by the way, the money at the rate that you're setting aside, do you want to know what it'll really be at retirement? They don't want to tell them that number. You know why?
Of course, because then they'll not do it.
Yeah,
And they
because
don't manage
that
their
number
money.
is a very, very sad number. So poor people 401k and IRA, and what's poor about it is it's an accumulation mindset. It's this erroneous notion that you can be an extra good saver and save enough money. So like what you're trained to do is be like this ultimate penny pincher. It's like, well, maybe I make $80,000 a year, but I'm only going to live on $40,000 a year. And I'm going to minimize my taxes. I'm going to save like $20,000, $30,000 a year. Cool. How much did you save over a decade and having it growing at 5%? $500,000. So if you pinch real hard and never have anything go wrong or bad, I have met, like out of thousands, a few people that accumulated over $1 million with that approach. That is not typical, and that is a great way to fail. You will fail. You got to assume that you're going to fail. Just run the math on it. So 401k and IRA, accumulation is not how you're going to get there. You have to learn to be an investor. Your money has to go to work for you. It has to grow, and it has to grow at double digits. You have to do something beyond 5, 6, 7, 8% like the market can provide.
College, 401k, what next?
Third mistake is poor people buy a house. And when I say a house, I mean one. So technically at retirement, your greatest accumulation of wealth will not be in your retirement accounts. It'll be the equity in your home. So if the average person has $255,000 of 401k IRA, on average, they have more than that equity in their home. Because if you've been a homeowner for 30 years just through appreciation, unless you're refinancing it to pay off debts like an irresponsible person, you're going to finally see some equity accumulation. And everyone loves the idea of a paid off house. So they don't view that as retirement because they're trying so hard to eliminate that one expense. And I think, okay, well, fast forward 30 years. You're knocking on the doors of retirement and your house, you have $300,000 of equity in it. Did you know if you had bought just 2 more, you'd be a millionaire nearly? So why not 10 more? Why not 10 more? Poor people buy one house. Rich people don't buy a house. They buy a fleet of houses. A gaggle, a puddle, a whole group of houses.
Do you know a flock of crows is called a murder?
Yeah, I'm going to freaking buy a murder of houses.
Okay, hit me with number 4.
Number 4, poor people do not value mentorship, growth conferences, personal development. So they treat college like, K through 12 was what everyone kind of does. And then when you go to college, you get the higher education. Now I'm an educated man. I'm an educated woman. I'm smart. My piece of paper says so. I'm done learning for the rest of my life. Average college person, postgraduate, will never read more than 2 books their entire life. And this is because we hate education. It's not fun for most people. It's not exciting. The academics love it, but there's a lot of people that just go through the grind of that whole experience. A person that really has a true joy of learning will never stop reading. They'll never stop growing. And if college is where you go for technical training, career training, then where do you go for success training? Where do you go for happiness training? Where do you go for growth training? That's not found within the walls of a university. So there's a whole different market of education out there that very few people are aware of. And they have these multi-day conferences that you can go to with people that specialize in financial growth, relationship growth, health growth. These people are growth hackers. They are committed as growth warriors to developing themselves and continuing their evolution process and not just thinking purely academically from a college perspective. These are people that attend masterminds. These are people that hire mentors. These are people that hire coaches. And they're basically saying, I'm looking for humans that have achieved what I want, and I pay them to give me the shortcuts and take me by the hand and walk me through it. That's how I achieved my original wealth. I paid money to mentors that took me by the hand and walked me through how to do it. So poor people don't do that. They don't believe in investing in themselves that way. They'll invest in college. But once that's over, investing in them, it's over. They won't even pick up a book. Poor people stop learning.
Okay, so that's 4, right?
Yep.
College, 401k, only buying one house, not investing in your growth.
Number 5.
College. Number 5.
Number 5, poor people don't have a financial plan. A financial game plan means, all right, I have a budget and I'm making this amount of money, and if I can pay myself 20% of it, 30% of it, and invest it at a rate of 25% here, or invest it at a rate of 200% there, or if I can blend it over these several investments and keep acquiring more of them, their financial plan is not accumulation. It's to save aggressively so that their investments can produce a very aggressive return back to them. They don't put all their eggs in one basket. They're separating the money over different asset classes. For me, I'm always investing in a variety of different businesses and real estate. And it is these collectively that produce my net worth. So my money collectively works way harder for me than I work at a quote unquote job. And that's what rich people do. Rich people demand that, whereas poor people will buy things, where they will buy consumables, things that go down in value. Well, they like to buy liabilities. I bought a car, I drove it off the lot, it went down 30%. Dude, I just got a text from Max on my team that says, Kris, can you talk to this 26-year-old YouTuber? Hit it big last year, made $300,000. He has 10 grand to show for it. $290,000 went to 2 really nice cars, and he blew it on stuff. And a year later, he's like, I think I screwed up. I think I did it wrong. And I made him a video. I was like, brother, you did screw it up royally. The good news is, if you make that same amount of money this year or more, you need to figure out how to, like, for you in your young situation, you should be saving 70% of your money. You should be saving 200 of the 300 grand, and you should invest every bit of it that you possibly can. Now that's playing the long game. So a financial game plan means that you're making financial choices. This is why I wrote a whole book on it. My last book, Have It All, teaches 5 different ROIs. And if you'll just blend your investments over these 5 different financial choices, you can earn 25% here, you can earn 500% here, you can earn 5,000% here. And if you get these blended ROIs spread over these different asset classes that I teach, that's a financial game plan. And people are constantly Googling KrisKrohn.com, they're looking at my social media, they're clicking my links and bios, and ultimately they're trying to get a game plan from me. And I've trained a whole team of people to do game plans for people so that they can at least get a multimillionaire's perspective with step-by-step action steps of how you implement such a plan. Because society's default game plan, what poor people do, well, they're going to be poor their whole life. They're going to become bitter about it at the end of their life. And they're going to lose their most valuable asset, time. And then it's too late.